Welcome to the 27th chapter of the book of Numbers. The daughter of Zelophehad received an inheritance, and we found out in the last chapter that this Zelophehad was one from the tribe of Manasseh, but yet he didn't have any sons, just daughters, which brought up a problem for them, not having an inheritance. And now to continue that story in chapter 27 and the remedy begins, and there came forward the Thigateras, the daughters, the Thaga, the daughters of Salphaad in the Greek. He was the son of Ophir, so that would be their grandfather, son of Galaad, great-grandfather, son of Machir, great-great-great-grandfather of the people of Manasseh. Maybe that would have been that fourth generation back would have been Manasseh, of the sons of Joseph. And these are their names: Mahlah, Noah, Aglah, Melchah, and Tirzah. 5 daughters to Zelophehad. And standing before Moses, and before Eleazar the priest, and before the rulers, and before all the congregation at the door of the tent of the testimony, they say, so they have come there, 5 women with an issue. All these people are coming together to deal with it. And they said, our father, that was Zelophehad, died in the wilderness. And they make sure to know that he wasn't one of the bad ones that was with Korah that the earth opened up against. They said, and he was not in the midst of the congregation of the ones rising up together against the Lord in the congregation of Korah. For because of his sin, so he did sin because he was probably one of the ones not wanting to go into Canaan when they were going to, and Joshua and Caleb were the only ones that said to take it, to go in, take Canaan, we can do it. But the other ones were all afraid, and this Zelophehad probably was one of them because they bring out the sin. He died, and died in the wilderness. Doesn't mean he was killed, he just died. And sons were not born to him. Let the name Onoma, a synonym, onim has a name as a derivative, synonym. The name, but not the name of our father, be wiped away from out of the mesu, the midst, mesoderm, middle skin of the skin, from out of the midst of his dhimu, demography. For here is not a son to him. Give to us a possession in the midst of the brothers, adelphon, of our patros, paternal. In the imperative, we need a possession. And Moses brought their case, crisin, crisis comes from that, before the Kyriou. And Kyrios spoke, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, well, rightly the daughters of Zalphaad have spoken. A gift you shall give to them for a possession of an inheritance in the midst of the brothers of their fathers. So they were to have another inheritance as the father would if he was still alive. So the sons of the rulers of the Manasseh there, were all males, except for this man didn't have a male, so therefore they will still receive an inheritance as the other inheritors. And you shall put the lot of their father among them. So what area of the land gives to these daughters goes by lot. And I believe it's mentioned later. We come to exactly what happens when they do the lot. And I believe it's not until Joshua. I may be wrong on that, but so that's the end of that problem. And now it continues in regards to that problem for other times. And to the sons of Israel you shall speak, saying, and this was God, a man, if he should die, and there might not be a son to him, you shall invest his inheritance, and that's his land, to his daughter. So the man dies and no son, the daughter gets it. And if there might not be a daughter to him, you shall give his inheritance to his brother. If he doesn't have any sons or daughter. And if there should not be brothers to him, you shall give his inheritance to the brother of his father, that is, his uncle. No brothers, no sons, no daughters, it goes to the uncle. And if there might not be brothers or uncles of his father, you shall not give his inheritance to the member. You shall give his inheritance to the member of the family, to the one nearest him, from out of his tribe, so the tribe of Manasseh with those women, to inherit the things of his. So somebody who is the closest of kin. And this will be to the sons of Israel an ordinance of equity, the right thing. And now, this is very important to the Jews of that period of time, the inheritance and keeping track of who's who in a genealogy, because it dealt with land ownership. If you didn't care about the land ownership, you probably would lose interest in of genealogy, unless you just like to study genealogy. And this is as the Lord gave orders to Moses. And now it changes a little. And the Lord said to Moses, ascend into the mountain, Oros, on the other side of the Jordan. Now that means it's the other side. It's still not in Israel. It's on the opposite side whenever it says the other side. This Mount Nebo, and see the land of Canaan, which I gave to the sons of Israel for a possession. And let's see if I can find it here, the map. Yeah. Mount Nebo, see, it says it right there. And so thou, as we find out here, Moses dies here. Joshua takes the people, and they go across, defeat Jericho. This is what's going on here. See the land of Canaan, which I give to the sons of Israel for possession. Look at it. And you shall see it, and you shall be added to your people, even you, as Aaron your brother was added in Or the mountain. So he's not going to go in. Now, church I went to, Southern California, the Bible teacher there, he always brought up when we were in the New Testament on the Mount of Transfiguration, where Jesus transformed in appearance, and Elijah and Moses appeared, and he would always bring up that Moses went into the promised land through the back door. I thought that was pretty funny. I never thought about it, but he did appear on Mount Meron as I see it. But anyway, here he's going up to die. Why? For you both, Aaron and him, violated my word in the wilderness of sin. I added both. I guess it doesn't need to be there. In the congregation rushing headlong against the sanctifying me. He told them to go speak to the rock, and they went and hit the rock, and they said, do we have to do this? And it wasn't God, but us, putting us instead of God. And yet God was sanctifying himself as the one doing it. You did not sanctify me, did not separate me, took it on your own. You called it me, us. You did not sanctify me at the water before them. Well, this is the water of disputed, Kadesh, in the wilderness of sin. And Moses said to the Lord, let the Lord God of the spirits and all flesh watch for a man to be over this congregation, who shall go forth before their face, and who shall enter before their face, and who shall lead them, and who shall bring them, that the congregation of the Lord shall not be as sheeps in which there is not a shepherd. So Moses is looking for someone to bring them in. And we find out, of course, here it's interesting that Moses is the one leading them in. Now, I think right here is a good place to go to the New Testament. And it says, Amen, amen, I say to you, Jesus says, the one not entering through the door into the courtyard of the sheep, but ascending from elsewhere, that one is a thief and a robber. But the one entering through the door is the sheep of the shepherd of the sheep, the one of God, is just as Joshua was chosen. To this one the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice. And his own sheep he calls by name and leads them out. And whenever his own sheep should come forth, he goes in front of them. And the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And I mentioned before about the story about the man who was a tour guide in Israel, taking people on tours, telling them how the sheep follow the shepherd. And he looks out the window and somebody says, hey, there's a sheep, and he's beating them with a rod. And he yells at the truck driver and says, stop. And he runs out and runs over to the man, and he says, yeah, I just been telling the people how the shepherds always have food and the sheep follow the shepherd. And the man looks at him and he says, shepherd, I'm not the shepherd, I'm the butcher. So, for they know his voice. But a stranger in no way shall they follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the stranger's voice. This proverb Jesus spoke to them, but those knew not what it was which he spoke to them sadly. And Jesus said then again to them, Amen, amen, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. And as the door is as God, he is God. He's the door, and he's the shepherd also. As many as came are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. Through me, if anyone should enter, he shall be delivered, and shall enter, and shall go forth, and shall find pasture. The thief comes not except that he should steal, and should sacrifice, slay, and should destroy. I came that they should have life, and they should have extra. I am the good shepherd. So he is the shepherd, and he's the doorkeeper. He's the shepherd as Jesus Christ, and the doorkeeper as God the Father. I see it as God. The good shepherd renders his life for the sheep. And Jesus rendered his life. And the doorkeeper didn't, so that was his position of the Godhead. But the hireling, and not being the shepherd, whose sheep are not his own, views the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf seizes them by force, the devil, and disperses the sheep. And the hireling flees, for he is a hireling, and there is not a care to him concerning the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know the ones mine, and I am known by the ones mine. As the Father knows me, I also know the Father, and my life I place for the sheep. And other sheep I have which are not from out of this yard, us here. And those it is necessary for me to lead. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one flock, one shepherd, and the flock of the church throughout the world. On account of this, the Father loves me, for I place my life, that again I should take it. No one takes it from me, but I place it of myself. I have authority to place it, and I have authority again to take it. This commandment I received from my Father. So Moses wants a good shepherd. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take to yourself Joshua, the son of Nun. Oh, here it is over here. Sorry. The son of Nun. Now, interestingly, well, that's not it. Here it is. And these are the names of the men which Moses sent to survey the land. And Moses named Avsi, son of Nun, Esun. Wow. Then Moses named Joshua, his real name is Avsi. Oshea, Avsi, he's the son of Navi, the same. He named him what? Soon. Jesus, the same name as Jesus, Jesus Christ. Soon, same spelling. It's not Joshua and Jesus. They're the same in Greek. So he, and the same in the Hebrew. So this is interesting how he's the good shepherd, and he's named the same as the true good shepherd being Jesus. And he says, a man who has spirit in him, the Spirit of God. And you shall place your hands upon him, put him on his shoulder or head, and you shall set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation. And you shall give charge to him before them, so they all know this is who God has chosen. And you shall put your doxy upon him, your glory, the doxology and the liturgy, the glory, so that the sons of Israel should hearken to him. And before Eleazar the priest he shall stand. He is the ruler of the people and the government, and Eleazar is the priesthood. And they shall ask him the equity of the manifestations before the Lord. Now, he's going to want to know what they should or shouldn't do, and they will ask God using the manifestations before the Lord for Joshua. It could be they shall ask for him, for Joshua. It's kind of confusing here. By his mouth they shall go forth, Joshua's mouth, and by his mouth, Joshua's mouth, they shall enter. He and all the sons of Israel with one accord, and all the congregation. He's the one in charge. And Moses did as the Lord gave charge to him. And taking soon, Jesus, Joshua, he stood him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and he placed his hands upon him and stood him just as Kyrios gave orders to Moise. 28, we continue with the trek into the Promised Land, but then we go into more laws towards the end of this book. Hope you'll join us in chapter 28, next video seminar. Till then, God bless.